Welcome to Scoop World Order. We're excited to have you. Again, we're getting close to Christmas. Merry Christmas to you guys. Could there be some more Christmas under the tree for the second signing day? Some big-time D linemen are out there lurking. Huge news with Florida State. We've been talking about Florida State expansion for a long time, but we had a huge nugget a couple weeks ago. It's all coming to fruition, folks. So we're going to talk about that. Talk a little bit more about Edrick Houston, what he means, break his film down a little bit more in depth. And as always, take your questions. We appreciate you guys for kicking it with us. We had a blast this past week. This past month has been incredible. So I hope you guys have been enjoying it, kicking it with us. Again, we have the best audience in the best audience in the land. So I'll stay on brand and say that. But we appreciate you guys kicking it with us every night, all of our regulars. Shout out where you guys are watching from. I love seeing that. I hope you guys have a great Christmas season, Hanukkah, whatever you guys celebrate. We hope you guys enjoy it. Enjoy a little bit of time off. The Bucks are playing. The Bucks are heading to Dallas on Friday. So it's here, guys. Cotton Bowl time, Devin Brown time. So we're going to get into all that. The super chats have been amazing. They're going straight to the troops up until Monday on Christmas. So again, we appreciate you supporting our troops. We have been giving out memberships to our website, buckeyescoop.com. If you guys need a last minute, exceptionally good Christmas gift, join buckeyescoop.com. It's great for the loved ones, great for anyone that loves Ohio State football or loves football in general, loves gambling. We've got some amazing threads on all of those things. So we'd love for you to join our community. But with that being said, let's get into it. Got my good friend Nevada Buck. Again, the site's been on fire. Yesterday was great. Getting Edrick Houston, getting basically the two best players in the country to join the party at Ohio State. A lot of big time chatter about guys like Trey Henderson, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer potentially coming back for another year, and Becca Igbokwe coming back for another year. Holy cow, what an amazing December for Ohio State football. Nevada, how are you feeling right now a few days out from Christmas?
I'm I'm so excited about Ohio State football. And you and I were talking about earlier. I'm like, I just can't stop smiling. I mean, what a great finish to this class. A class that a lot of people had some concerns about, and there was some despair and some hand wringing. And we ended up with, in my opinion, the best class in the country. The only thing it lacked was numbers. It lacked numbers, but five-star players, just guys up and down the class that are going to be immediate contributors. Just a terrific job. I mean, I've often said this to you guys. I'm not a Ryan Day apologist. I'm not here to carry water for Ryan Day or to tell it, but boy, those guys did a great job. I mean, they did a great job, and they closed strong, and they held their class together. And look, the NIL groups did it. They did work too, man. Like, we bag on the NIL when they do poorly, but when they step up and do things well. Now, one of the problems with the NIL, and this has been one of the issues with Ohio State, is they've been purposely not going after NIL kids. We talk about that. The kids that are all about NIL, and then kids that are not about NIL, they're about development. They kind of have a long-term plan. But what you have to understand is what that means a lot of times for Ohio State is they don't lock down exactly what these NIL packages are. And so yesterday, what you were seeing with Edrick Houston, what you were seeing with J.J. Smith, and hence the delay with J.J. Smith on submitting paperwork, was the fact that they were just finalizing NIL stuff. So, I think it's been interesting, the fact that Ohio State's been able to do as well as they have. I mean, they're going to the other extreme of NIL, where other teams are leading with the bag. Ohio State is saying, "Hey, look, you'll be taken care of, you'll be fine, but that'll be something we'll take care of when you get on campus." And some of these big boys are like, no, let's get it locked down before you file the paperwork, before all this stuff is done. And but Ohio State did it, man. I mean, Ohio State did it. The class is terrific. The program's in great shape. We've been saying for a while, if you're a regular on this broadcast, we've been saying this for a while. I think more guys are returning next year than you even think. I think even guys that we might have put in there's just no way that they can return, are going to be returning. And I think that bodes really well for a 12-team playoff. That bodes really well for 2024. That bodes well for everything as being for being an Ohio State fan, because the program just added a huge influx of talent. We've got a huge influx of talent, or returning for next year. And like I said, I could not be more excited and more optimistic. Do I wish that we were in the playoff and going? Yeah, but short of that, this is about the best possible scenario for an Ohio State fan. I know that there was some concern yesterday. People were like, man, if we miss on these guys, are we becoming Purdue, or are we becoming second tier? Are we not among the look? We're among the elite of the elite of the elite, and as an Ohio State fan, you get to go along for the ride, and it's exciting because the future is certainly bright.
Yeah, I agree. Got a couple super chats already. Going to get these knocked out. Will 8282 appreciates my man. Thank you for the 5. Just got in here. Don't know if you've talked about it. We kind of alluded to it. The word on players returning. I think that at this point, the only guy that's gone is Marvin. I think the rest of the guys there's a really good chance they all stay, which I know that sounds crazy. And again, things can change. You know, guys like Emeka and Trey could declare, but I think that there's a lot of buzz in the Woody Hayes and the people I've talked to and with agents that say, a lot of these guys didn't get the grades they wanted. You know, these guys all got 3rd round grades, 4th round grades. Trey probably got, a midish round. I mean, Trey's the guy that I think could easily go late 1st round if he came, and he ran a good combine time, and he's dynamic. Like, you see these teams that take Jahmyr Gibbs and that type of thing. That's what Trey could do to an offense, and I think that teams look at that and they're just like, man, we really need a weapon. And again, I watch like the Chiefs every week kind of put it around with basically Kelsey and then the worst receivers in the NFL and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco. And if you put Trey Henderson on that team, and also you're like, oh my God, this is a formidable thing. So, but I like where we stand. I think we have a lot of guys that frankly want to run it back, and again, like I've said this 1,000 times in the last month, the beauty of NIL, because I know a lot of people, they don't like NIL. They want the old time football, old timely kids don't make no money type thing. These kids can make some money now. So they don't have to sit. It's not all or nothing anymore. It's not, I go to the league and make money, or I stay in poverty for another year in college. Now it's like, I can either go to the league or I can stay in college and make like half the money. If you're a mid-round guy, I mean, a guy like JT Malala, if you go 3rd round, like he could make half that money staying in Columbus next year and improving his stock and potentially being a 1st round pick. And then essentially it's kind of like you get a signing bonus and then you get like another signing bonus. So I think it's amazing, because again, I think that these kids that, some kids I feel like are forced to go pro because their families are destitute. Their mom can't make rent, dad can't make rent, whatever, because that's just the reality of it. Like, I mean, I'm from a single parent household, like, like the NFL money, it helps a lot. So, I think that that's something that, forces guys out the door when they might not want to go. Cause frankly, college is fun. College is a blast. It's the last time you play with guys that you really care about. Cause once you get to the league, you're just a mercenary. But I think that, some of these guys, they've got a bad taste in their mouth. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't win a championship. None of these guys really have any legacy other than they've got like some, Marvin won the Blitnikoff, whoop-de-doo, nobody cares. But they have no rings, they have no gold pants, they missed the playoffs. They lost their one playoff game they were in. So there's not much of a legacy there. So some of these guys, they can make some money, kind of be the Kings of Columbus for a year, and then away they go. Nevada, your thoughts? We mentioned it. You mentioned it about guys coming back. Again, I'm not going to nail anything down because guys can have huge bowl games and leave, or they could get hurt in a bowl game and stay. But I feel like there's a lot of momentum that a lot of these guys are coming back next year.
Well, look, I mean, you look at a guy like Noah Brown. I remember when Noah Brown declared for the draft, and I was like, what is Noah Brown doing declaring for the draft? Like that guy has got no chance to have some future. And now he's in whatever year he's on, and I know he's had games with 170 yards catching passes for CJ Stroud this year. So look, you never know on this stuff. All we can give you is kind of the word. Ohio State could run the table on this in terms of sweeping everybody but Marvin. I mean, it could be a clean sweep in terms of all hands on deck back, with the exception of Marvin. And when you just run that around in your head, that would put Ohio State in an unbelievable situation for next year. Now, I don't want to create that expectation that anything short of that will be bummed, but that's kind of the word. That's what they're kind of saying. They're all practicing. They're all practicing hard, and I've been saying that I think it's going to be more. I mean, it could be almost all of them. And if that happened, wow, that would put us in a great spot for 2024. First year this 12-team play, the 12-team playoff. I'm not sure people have realized how profoundly different that is going to be. I mean, that changes everything for college football, and it's going to. I've hated it that we've gone to that. I think it's too many teams, but we're here. So let's embrace it and let's ride with it. And 2024 is going to be exciting, and I think the Ohio State team is going to be loaded.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to have a fantastic year next year. Luke Fleming, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, brother. Delaware, Ohio. Shout out Delaware. I'm up in Lewis Center, so it is a beautiful part of Ohio. Appreciate all you guys do. Is Ryan's job for sure on the line next year? I don't know if it's on the line unless he goes, 4-8, then anything's possible. But I think he's in good. This has been a good recruiting class. This Cotton Bowl, will mean something. But we're 11-1 right now. We're one touchdown pass at the end of the game versus the number one team in the country on the road from being the number one seed in the playoffs. So we're like this close. And next year we'll be in the playoffs and we do the exact same thing. How's that play into his known conservative play calling in big games? I don't know. I don't think his job's on the line next year unless the bottom falls out, unless there's a scandal, unless something kind of unforeseen happens. I just think that he gets tight, man. He gets tight versus Michigan. I don't know why. It's bizarre to me that he just doesn't let it loose the way that he did against Georgia last year. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't go for it. I mean, he was going against Sherrone Moore, and Sherrone Moore he coached like 3 games in his life, and he's coaching the biggest game by far of his life, and he was going for it. I mean, he was going for it on 4th down. I mean, he was aggressive. Like, you got to play to win sometimes. I mean, Mike Vrabel last week went for it on like the 4th and 1 from like his own 27 or something crazy. That's like something like a kid would do on Madden, and he did it because he's just like, sometimes you just get sick of it. Hey, if we can't get a yard, we don't deserve to win anyway, so we might as well go for it. And trusted that against Florida, and we didn't cut off the backside end and we got stopped. But, I liked the call. I mean, in the point of attack, we blocked it great. The backside, we missed it. So, I was right at the point of attack and I crushed the guy. And I was like, oh my God, this will be an easy conversion. Then all of a sudden I heard the Florida sideline cheering and whatever. So bad memories. But Nevada, do you think that Ryan Day's job being on the line next year, or do you think it's on the line? I don't think it is. I think you probably agree with that. And how do you think that plays into his known conservative play calling in big games?
Well, let me just go over a couple points, and I'll get to answering the question. But first of all, I don't know if people realize they run analytics on everything, on every situation on the field. On 4th and 1, it is literally there is no place on the field that the analytics do not support going for it on 4th and 1. Your own 27, your own 37, your own 17, anywhere on the field, 4th and 1, you're supposed to go for it. And coaches are now kind of figuring out, and fans are kind of, but it's considered like you're just talking about like it's like crazy, super Madden, 9-year-old kid playing on Madden mode. No, it's what the math tells you to do. And unfortunately, we punted on 4th and 1 from our 47. But no, you're supposed to go for. I think it's literally 4th and 2. I think you're supposed to go for it from anywhere in the field. Pretty much. But that's the first point. Second point, no, with the 12-team playoff kind of bails Ryan out, because you said unless you're just a complete disaster of a season, which is not going to happen. And Ohio State, missed the 12-team. If we lost to Michigan and missed the 12-team playoff, Ryan Day would be in trouble. But short of that, no. I think Ryan Day's, I think next year's going to be a terrific year. But no, short of that happening, Ryan's in good shape. And look, Ryan wants to get this right. And Ryan, people talked about Ryan going to the NFL. Ryan will not go to the NFL on a losing streak to Michigan. I'm just telling you, he won't. He might go after we beat Michigan, but he's not going to go with his tail between his legs and having Harbaugh run him out of college football. I'm just telling you, that is not going to happen. He's going to figure this out. We're going to get back on the winning side, and then we'll fret about losing Ryan Day.
Yeah, and we just extended him last year. So, I mean, he got like a 5-year, $60 million extension. So it's like, he ain't going nowhere. We're not going to buy that out. Christopher, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 5. Any Michigan recruits we can grab after the NCAA drops the bomb and the Rats start jumping ship? Well, I mean, it's kind of different now because it's not just the recruits. It's if guys hit the portal. There's some guys I'd love to take. I don't know, what their mentality will be or how severe it'll be, but I'd take any of their guys. A lot of their guys on defense, especially up front. They got some really good D tackles. Some will probably go pro. Just kind of see where they're at. I mean, they've got good linemen. The skill guys are kind of whatever. The running backs are going to be gone, I think, after this year. But Nevada, are there any Michigan recruits? They took the big kid from St. Ed's, Roebuck. We took the other two, the twins. I guess it just depends on how the guys develop and if they do anything this year. What are your thoughts?
Go look at their class. I spent time looking at their class today. Their class stinks.
It does.
Their incoming class is so bad. Like, there's not a single player on that class that I would take. Not one. Now, if you said Nevada, you get like the wild card, like the Clash of Clans wild card, where you can kind of pick any troop that you want. I wouldn't take any of their recruits. There's not a single guy on there that I want. It's a bad class. They got the transfer. They got the linebacker from Maryland. I think it's a pretty good player. But in terms of incoming high school kids, it stinks. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, they got to develop them. Shane H, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas to you, too. And also happy Hanukkah to any of you guys to celebrate. With the lack of defensive tackles, is there any chance any offensive line move to D? I don't think so, man. That's a tough move. I think it's a lot more frequent to see a defensive lineman move to offense. Because if you're moving, by definition, offensive linemen are the worst athletes on the team. Just because that's what it is. Like, they're worse athletes than the D linemen is what it is. So if you're moving one of those guys over to defense, usually it's because he's not smart enough to get offense. Like we had Chris Carter the one year, who was not the wide receiver Chris Carter, the big fat Chris Carter, and we moved him to defense, and he couldn't remember our plays. So we had to move him to nose guard, which is the easiest position in football to play because you just stand there and take on blocks. And, and he still really couldn't do it over there either. It was the best day of my coaching career is when he moved out of the O-line and moved to the D-line, because he was a kid that just always was late to workouts and late to stuff. And it was Urban's first year. So Ed Warner and I got whipped incessantly because Chris would sleep through a workout, and then we'd have to bring the whole line in and condition, we'd have to gut him, basically condition him, like kind of like bury the sand flea, like, the Marine term. Like, we'd have to go gut those guys, and they'd make Chris sit on a chair and watch Jack B. Horton, these guys get gutted. And, don't you feel bad, Chris? And I really don't think he did. But, when he moved to Vrabel's room, oh God, I think I went out and I guarantee you I had a few drinks that night. So I was so excited, but it just was like, I don't know. It was one of the best days of my life because I didn't have to worry about that kid, because he was a constant pain. But I don't think any of our offensive linemen have the projection to be able to help us at all in defense from a skill set perspective. And is it a big change? Yes, a huge change. I think that anytime you switch sides of the ball, some are a lot more intuitive. Like if you go from, cornerback to receiver, receiver to cornerback, like I think those are obviously huge changes. I think going from corner to receiver is a way easier deal than going from receiver to corner, because playing corner is the hardest position on the field, in my opinion. But O-line is probably number 2. So, when you move a guy over from defense and he doesn't know the footwork, he doesn't know how to pass set or vertical set, and his footwork's kind of all over the place. Like it's really, really hard. But I don't think there's any chance that there's a guy that I could think of we'd want. We'd probably just go in the portal and try to find somebody. Nevada, I'm sure you probably agree with that, just because I'm more of the expert on that, but maybe you've got a different opinion.
No, I think you nailed it. I think it's when you're talking about athleticism on the field, when you get to the offensive line, I'm short of going to like the kickers or maybe the holders or something like that. Yeah, it's kind of the end of the road on the athleticism prism there. So
yeah, and like we'd move guys from O-line to D-line if we needed help on scout team, if we just needed warm bodies, but not any guys that we'd ever project to actually play. Buckeye Ryan 1, thanks for the deuce. Why aren't we getting offensive line stars? Unacceptable. Well, I mean, it's a little early. Like, I mean, Ian Moore at one point was the highest rated tackle on Rivals.com, and I think the Twins have a chance to be good. I think it's it's a little early. They might not have the gaudy ranking of Jordan Seaton or some of the guys at Georgia Bama got, but let's wait it out. Again, going into this season, I think the only 2 people in the entire Ohio State sphere that weren't on suicide watch were Nevada and I, talking about the O-line. So I was like, I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be fine. I don't think that we're going to be this pile of vomit that everyone projects the O-line to be. And guess what? We were fine. We had a guard that made first team All Big Ten. We had our right tackle made first team All Big Ten. Jimmy Simmons was fine at left tackle. Carson Hinsman was a freshman, so he had some hiccups every now and again, but he was fine. And Matt Jones, I thought, did a nice job. So it wasn't, was it the best line we've ever had? No, but it wasn't like some line where we're like, oh my God, how are we ever going to survive? Like, our tackles, I mean, I think that they might have given up 3 or 4 sacks, and we probably threw the ball, a couple hundred times. So, I mean, that's going to happen sometimes when you've got a guy with lead feet like Kyle McCord back there, but it kind of is what it is. And there's times where Kyle needs to move. Like, you can't just stand there like a statue and not step up in the pocket. And, there's kind of a symphony that goes on between the pass protection and the quarterback. And if the tackle runs the guy around the edge, like if that quarterback doesn't step up like you're supposed to and he gets sacked, then that's the quarterback's fault. So I thought the line was fine. Now, you know, you got to kind of judge everything. Like Jordan, everyone, like if we would have signed Jordan Seaton yesterday, it would have been the greatest thing of all time. He visited, 2 weeks ago, and then he goes to Coach Prime, and Colorado signed 5 people yesterday, and Coach Prime, Jordan Seaton goes on First Take and says, "I'm going to go with Colorado," and whatever else, all the other crazy stuff he said. And then he doesn't even end up signing. And why didn't he sign? Because he wanted more money. And that's the thing I tell these guys. I'm like, look, if you're going to get into the NIL thing, if it's all gonna be a bidding war, then if someone bids more money than you're probably gonna lose. So that's why I like Ohio State's approach to NIL, because I feel like some of these kids, man, they just get their hands out and they'll leave you for $1. Like Walter Nolan went to A&M, got a bag, and now he's down to Oregon and Ole Miss. So I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's insane, but that's the reality. And not every guy that you miss on turns out to be a miss. Again, like in the immortal words of like Chantrell Henderson, who, again, I was on staff. It was 2010 or 2011. It was 2010. Chantrell Henderson is between us and USC. He signs with USC. USC gets hit with the Death Star, death penalties. They're like Alderaan getting hit by the laser beam, and all of a sudden he goes to Miami. He was dressed for the Hurricanes when we played him in 2010, and he never did anything ever. Like, I mean, I think he was in the NFL for like 2 years maybe, but he sucked, but he was like the highest rated offensive lineman of all time. Tom Lemming said he's a combination of Jonathan Ogden and Orlando Pace, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard any recruiting guy say. And that's saying something, because these recruiting guys are really dumb. Most of them have never played. They've never coached. They're just like, they just are honks that kind of hang out, and they like to smell jocks sometimes. But like when he said that he was a combination of probably the 2 best offensive linemen of all time, I was like, yeah, right, buddy, whatever. And I watched the kid's tape, and he was beating up a bunch of little small hockey players from Minnesota. And I'm like, this guy's not good. And then when they do these big rigmaroles and they do these big ceremonies, they always end up sucking. Because like when you're an offensive lineman, man, you got to be like a grinder. You got to be a chain gang mentality, tough. You don't need to be this big production in Hollywood and all that. I mean, there's very few of those guys that end up panning out because it's such a tough position. And like Jordan Seaton will show up. He'll probably end up at, I mean, he got crystal ball to Maryland yesterday. I'm like, who would ever go to Maryland? The crystal ball's all flipped from Colorado to Maryland for this kid. So again, I don't know how many red flags he has to hold up, but there's a lot up in the air right now. Nevada, your thoughts on O-line recruiting? Again, I don't care, because I think we actually got a good O-line class with Ian Moore and the Twins, but love your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I don't fret about the O-line. I never have. I've said I've been consistent on this for 20 years. I don't, I wouldn't mind going with a bunch of kids from Ohio. I look at our national championship teams. I've said this many times. We won it with 5 kids from Ohio, 5, 1 kid from the D line, 1 undersized midget center. I mean, we won a national championship. So I don't mind. I don't, whatever on the O-line. The O-line to me is the ultimate development position. Like you have to develop, and I'm not telling you anything, but like you have to develop these guys, and so it doesn't really matter how many stars they have when they come in. It's how tough they are, how relentless they are, how driven they are, and that's why when I see a guy like Jordan Seaton, like everything about him screams bust. Everything about him screams, I'm not going to work hard. I'm not going to be a good team player. I'm not here for I'm not willing to do all the little things that it takes to be a great offensive lineman. So a guy like that, hard pass for me. Hard pass. Give me hard-nosed Midwestern kids with a chip on their shoulder, and I'll be just fine with that.
Yeah, like we had Billy Price. I mean, Billy was probably a 3-star kid, Alpha maybe 4-star. Elfline was a 3-star. Daryl Baldwin was a 3-star all day. I mean, Daryl, when Urban Meyer was the coach in 12, he came to me one day. We're sitting at breakfast, and he said, "I'm going to make you the head coach of the offensive tackles. You are now the offensive tackle coach. Ed's going to take the inside guys. You are now the official coach of the offensive tackles, and you're going to develop Reed Fragel and Daryl Baldwin into players." And I was like, holy cow, this is going to be hard, because Reed played tight end, and Reed's a super athletic kid, big kid. But, teaching a guy who's never played tackle to play tackle, and he's a senior, is tough. And we need him to play this year. This isn't like, oh, maybe in 2-3 years he could give us some snaps. Like, no, we need him to play right tackle this year. So we put in thousands of reps and hundreds of hours over the offseason to get him right. And we did the same with Daryl. And I remember Daryl, it was like dodgeball, like the movie Dodgeball where they throw wrenches at the guy. I would have him pass it and I would throw basketballs at him because I wanted him to get his hands up. And I was like, dude, you got to get your hands up because these guys are going to be bringing their hands and you're going to be going against Johnny Simon and some of these guys have got really good hands. And you carry your hands too late. You got your hands up. So I'd throw basketballs at him to get his hands to like independently smack the balls away. And it worked great. And so Daryl actually became really good. And I talked to Joey Bosa, and Joey said that he was harder to go against than Taylor Decker, which was crazy because like Taylor ends up being a first round pick and he's made $100 million in his NFL career. But Daryl was wicked strong. He's the stiffest player in Ohio State history. Like, I mean, it was painful to watch him jog and run and stuff, but he was strong as an ox. Wasn't an NFL guy. He bounced around on some practice squads maybe, or he's on some off-season teams. But, we won with Daryl, Billy Price, Jacoby Bourne, who was probably a two-star. And everyone thought we just took him because because Justin was paying for his school. And, Justin came from Michigan. He was a walk-on because he couldn't do an inter-conference transfer and be on scholarship back then. And then we had Zach, and people were like, oh, well, they just gave Jacoby a scholarship to even it out for Justin. And really, we liked Jacoby. I don't think Jacoby's own mom thought that he could play at Ohio State because he was such a small guy, but Jacoby's probably the smartest player in Ohio State history. That kid learned the playbook in about 2 days, and he could regurgitate all the information. Again, I love that kid. Like Jacoby Bourne, if Jacoby was 6'5", he'd be an NFL Hall of Famer, but he wasn't. So, he did what he could do, and he was tough. The Bourne's all super tough people, great people. Obviously, you know how I feel about Elfline. Elfline's unbelievable, and Taylor Decker really became, the superstar of the line and just a great kid, a kid that we flipped late. And it was funny because Taylor, when we flipped him from Notre Dame, we got Ed Warner and we got Tim Hinton, who are his two main recruiters, and they came to Ohio State. So everyone just kind of knew that Taylor was going to probably be coming too. Like he was real nonchalant about the flip. Like I remember his official visit, he was there with his little girlfriend and we talked about it. And I was like, I think you'd love it here. You're from Dayton. It doesn't make sense to go to Notre Dame. You're an hour away from home. It's done. The school's done so good for me. I think you'd love it. And he just flipped, and it wasn't a big ceremony. It wasn't a rap video. And then Kyle Dodson, my boy, he does like a whole rap song and all this stuff. And again, I'm not trying to be the old guy, the old head or whatever, but like, I don't love that kind of stuff because I feel like O-linemen should be it's like a chain gang. Chain gang, I tell it, quiet, tough, throw at you in, pickup truck, Timberland boots, that type of deal. And again, maybe I'm just crazy, maybe I'm old fashioned, whatever, but like that's just kind of how it is with a lot of these guys. And I see a lot more tough, hard guys make it on the O-line than guys that are prima donnas. So, and again, I've been around the block and I've seen it all. But that's a great question. Appreciate you, my man. Will8282, thanks for the deuce. When will all these players say if they're staying or going? Well, they have till after the national championship, which is like mid-January. So about 3 weeks, I mean, I think that, a lot of them will probably wait until the buzzer and get all the information they can. But deep down, these guys kind of already made a decision. Like most guys they're not 50-50 right now. They kind of know if they're going to stay or go. And they've kind of made plans for after the bowl game. So I would imagine, like, if guys want to go pro, they'll probably declare after the bowl game so they can get to, because you either got to get to training, get ready for the Senior Bowl, or you got to just go back to Columbus and take some time off. So I think you'll see a lot of it after the bowl game. Nevada, do you agree with that?
Well, I do, but I mean, like if you follow these bowl games, like I'm following them because I bet every bowl game because I'm a degenerate gambler and I have a problem. But that's we should do a different show on that one at some point. But like everybody's like opting out of these bowl games. Like these lines are moving like 8 points, 10 points, 6 points. That's wild swings based on guys opting in, opting out of these bowl games. And I'm looking at Ohio State and I'm like, everybody's playing, and this isn't a playoff game. This isn't like. We're not playing for the national team. We're playing in the Cotton Bowl, and it's all hands on deck. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy that we're at this spot. And as an Ohio State fan, you should feel so blessed that we've got that kind of a esprit de corps, that kind of a culture, because that is culture. Because there's no reason for these guys to have to play in this game. They could opt out. They could say, "No, I'm gonna hold it off. I'm gonna pull it back, whatever it is." But they're playing, and it's wild to me that we're going to get to see these guys, run it back one more time in the Cotton Bowl, and I think we'll run it back in 2024. So, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and I think the opt-out culture, it all kind of started like with the COVID year, where guys were opting out of the games, and then it carried over to the next year where guys were opting out of bowl games. It was like it gave guys a reason to opt out that really didn't have any reason to opt out. So, like again, because it didn't. I think that the hardest part is like it didn't hurt Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons. They opted out of the entire season. They still go top 10. Obviously, they're two of the best players in the NFL. So now everybody thinks that they're on that level. So everybody opts out because everybody's scared to play football. And I'm just like, dude, I want to play as much as I can because especially like when it's your last time with your boys, especially when you're an underclassman and you get to play with some of those seniors and send them out the right way. Like I think that's really important, man. Especially after you lose to Michigan, man. You do not want to go out with that being your last time in the Scarlet and Gray because once you take that jersey off and you declare for the NFL, you never wear it again. You never get to play again. You're never going to play the horseshoe again. You can come back and wave to the crowd and stuff, but you don't get to strap it up and go get it. So I think that's important. Jeff Norman, 3344, thank you for the 5. If you have a question, go ahead and type that in. I'll try to find it in the chat. Nevada, our lead story was Florida State. You've been absolutely all over that, going crazy for the last, I feel like it's been years, but a couple weeks ago, we did a show where you were breaking that Florida State was going to go to the Big Ten. And sure as can be, it looks like the SEC is turning them down, paves the way for Florida State to the Big Ten. I would be the happiest human being on earth if Florida State joined the Big Ten because my old lady went there. So that'd be great. So if they go down to, Doak, go down to the Doak and see the Buckeyes, that'd be amazing. She wants to go down to a game. But your thoughts on where that is at, a timeline? I know there's no real timeline because these things it could happen tomorrow, it could happen in 2 years. But kind of your thoughts on where that's at.
Well, have a bit of an update on that. Now, everybody's seen kind of the public thing today. If you haven't seen it, it's relatively big news. The Board of Trustees of Florida State has called a special meeting for this Friday to specifically discuss the topic of getting them out of the grant of rights. The grant of rights is the document which basically gave their media rights to the conference, and that's a grant that they gave through the year 2036, and they've called a meeting to specifically discuss getting out of the grant of rights and pursuing legal activity, which would involve some sort of a financial settlement to get them out of the grant of rights. Two things that are interesting. One is I can absolutely confirm that Florida State has reached out to the Big Ten about potential membership in the Big Ten. So the Florida State wants to be part of the Big Ten. Two, the Big Ten has said to them, now they don't want to get involved in tortious interference with the ACC and the breaking of the grant of rights. You have to be very careful about this. You got to handle this through the broadcast partners, but the Big Ten is open to the idea of Florida State coming to the Big Ten. Third thing that's interesting, though, the group that's going to be joining them in this action to break the grant of rights, UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, the big dog. So you've got two of the biggest dogs in the ACC that are joining forces to combine on a legal action to break the grant of rights. And if that happens, it's basically on like Donkey Kong at that point, because you've got a number of AAU institutions inside the ACC that would be great fits for the Big Ten. It also opens up Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's kind of hanging out there. They're kind of this member of the ACC, but they're not really a member, but they're kind of a member. Well, if you start having teams in the ACC jump to the Big Ten, then ultimately that drives the big fish Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a big fish into the net for the Big Ten. So lots of exciting things happen, but formal contact between Florida State, or I should say formal, informal contact between Florida State and the Big Ten, and a positive indication of accepting them as membership into the Big Ten, which is a huge step. And this Friday, so it begins.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. I hope they jump in. That'd be amazing. Jared Webb, super chat. Thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Longtime listener. Appreciate that. And love the show. Also appreciate that. What happens to wide receiver room if Emeka stays? Well, it becomes the best in the country. I think it already is the best in the country, but if Emeka comes, it's going to be one of the best that we've ever had. You've been saying J.J. Smith needs to start. So does Ennisleaf? No. The SFE is about to take over the world, because we're going to have basically the 3 wide receivers that they had when they won the national championship 2 years ago in 7-on-7 football. And Brian plays 4 to 5 receivers. So, X is gone, Marvin's likely gone. Julian Fleming's already out. So, you got to get some guys ready to rock. And I'm telling you, like, JJ is not going to be watching. JJ going to be out there playing. So get used to the name, get used to his ability. Mech's a slot guy, and that's what Ennis is. And I think that, like, you got to roll those guys through. But Ennis can play anywhere. Like, he's a big, tough kid. He's built for the slot. That's kind of his bread and butter, but he can play outside. These guys can all play anywhere. But I'm just saying, from a prototype standpoint, JJ is a prototype X. He's the most perfect X that we've ever recruited, which is what Marvin is. He's kind of the big dog, the Devontae Adams, the Marmaduke, and you got to run the offense through the X. And again, I can't wait for this kid to get the scarlet and gray because I don't want to lather on the hyperbole, but I mean he's a much better prospect than Marvin Harrison was coming out. Marvin won the Blitnikoff, and Marvin's got an insane work ethic, insane genetics. He's got a father that obviously knows the position like the back of his hand. But JJ's a better prospect, bigger, faster, stronger, freakier. And JJ is this kid is serious as a heart attack, man. He is not playing. He's not, he is going to be an absolute monster when he gets here. And I can't wait because of all the kids I've talked to and covered, he's probably my favorite just because he's so serious about the game and he wants to be great and he wants to be 3 and out. He wants to go to the league. He wants to get paid. And he knows the kind of work it takes. And that's the good thing about having Carnell and Brandon Ennis up here is they've been here for a year. So they can kind of give him the 4-1-1. And I think they're, a decent reason as to why he came because he's already got 2 guys that he trusts and loves. And he sees what Brian Hartline's been doing with that room. And it's like, hey, man, if you want to jump on the monorail to millions, then go to Ohio State and get developed by Brian Hartline. So I think if Emeka stays, it's going to continue to be the best room in the country for 3-4 straight years running. Jeff Norman, 3344. Thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Being an Army veteran from New York, Ohio. Love New York. Love what you're doing for the troops these holidays. Thank you. Appreciate you, my man. Again, we love the troops. We support the troops. It's kind of our thing. My father-in-law is going to be up here on Christmas Day. Navy guy. He's got his Navy gear that I ordered ready to go for Christmas. So it'll be great. Is DC Jim Knowles wanting a head coaching job with another university? I don't think so. I mean, here's the thing. Every coach wants to be a head coach. It doesn't matter if you're Jim Knowles or Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson wanted the Penn State job in 2011, and they signed Bill O'Brien instead of him, which I thought was stupid, but they did. Nevada, your thoughts? Does Jim Knowles want to be a head coach at another university?
Not anymore. I mean, I think that ship has sailed for him. He's done it. I mean, he's been a head coach, and I think wasn't he like a head coach at like Cornell or something? I think he's to the point right now where he's well compensated. He's part of a great program. He's at the pinnacle of college football, and all the sense that I get from him is this is what he wants to do for the rest of his life. And he's not a young chicken. He doesn't want to go out there and deal with some of the stuff that you'd have to do with being a head coach. And I think he's better. His temperament is better for a coordinator, and I think he's well situated.
And not all head coaching jobs are created equal. Like there's some where, man, you get down them lower levels, man, you don't have the super highway paved like you do at Ohio State. Like Ohio State, man, they got the best training table, they got good facilities, they've got a big budget, they've got an NIL group, they've got all these things that make your life a lot easier. You go to some of these other schools, man, especially now, if you're at like, say, a Duke or you go to a MAC school, Miami, Ohio, Akron, you kind of become a farm school for the big schools. So when you have a kid who's some superstar, some gem that you unearth, and you're some 1-star, 2-star kid that you're recruiting, and all of a sudden you develop him and he's a starter as a freshman, he's real good. I mean, there's a good chance he's going to hit the portal and go to Purdue, or he's going to go, if he is at Miami, Ohio, and he wants to go play in the Big Ten, go to Michigan State or go to Michigan. So it's a different world now, man. Those lower tier schools, man, the wolves are circling outside your building trying to take your players every year. And the players are welcoming it. Like Toledo, they just had a guy that started for 3 years there who went to my high school, a great kid, Vinny Scurry. He just went to Texas Tech, and he got offered by Auburn, by Ole Miss, by Texas Tech. I mean, and coming out of high school, none of those schools even knew he existed. But he had good film. He's a tough kid. He's a good kid. And they all offered him, and he got an NIL deal to go to Texas Tech. So again, like, you're at those those little schools, man. It's hard when you're trying to project out your team and your roster and your culture. And like Vinny Scurry is a kid that would have been a captain at Toledo this year, and all of a sudden he's in the portal and he's heading to Texas Tech. So I don't know how you can plan your roster out when you're the hunted. Like Ohio State, the guys that we lose are generally depth guys or guys like Julian Fleming that probably feel like they should have had a bigger role in the offense and they're going to go to Penn State or wherever. But we don't generally lose like our top drawer guys to the portal. We'll lose guys like Chip Trainum, who Chip will be the feature guy at Kentucky next year, or Evan Pryor, who's like our sixth best running back this year to Cincinnati, and Kai Stokes has been here for a couple years, hasn't played at all. Like we'll lose our depth guys, but we're not losing our top drawer guys. You go to those middle schools, you're losing your top drawer guys to SEC schools that are paying them. So again, like if I'm Jim Knowles and I can make $2 million to call a defense, that's just as good as making $2 million to be a head coach at some school and getting my guys poached like every single day, because it's a different world now. Will 8282, thanks for the deuce. Do we know what number JJ will wear? I mean, I'd be shocked if they don't give him 4. Because I mean, literally, Julian Fleming just walked out the door. JJ wears 4. I mean, it's kind of the perfect symmetry. Like, why would you not just give him 4? I know that they like to put these guys in like team numbers. Ennis won a number 1 last year and they put him in 11. And, Carnell. The thing is like when you're one of these skill guys, they all want single digits. They all want 1 or 3 or 2 or 8 or 7 or because they just look cooler. But they usually put the young skill guys in 17 or 12 or 23 or like something that's not quite as cool. And they make them earn the single digits. But if it's JJ, I just give him 4 and we're like, let's ride. You don't need to put him in 25 or something like that and make the kid look weird. I'd put him right in 4 and roll, but that's not official. But the number's open and it just makes sense. Like I remember the funniest thing ever was when I was getting recruited, I thought I was gonna be number 69 because there just weren't many numbers available on the entire roster. Like all the 70s were taken, all the numbers that 75, which is Simon Frazier, that was already taken. 77 was taken. I didn't want a double number. And so I thought I was going to have to be 69, which, family goes out, they get 69 jerseys, order them, whatever. And I wore it in the All-Star game because I was 84 because I was a tight end in high school, but I had to pick a lineman number. And I was like, I guess I could wear this. This is whatever. John Rennie was a guy that I really liked as a right tackle, and I kind of studied him. So I was like, he wore it. It'll be fine. Even though he's a Michigan guy. And then I get to Ohio State, and they issue me 74. And I was like, I thought it was going to be 69. My family ordered all these shirts. Like, nope, we gave you 74. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I like 74. And 74 is my favorite number now. But it was just hilarious because I showed up thinking I had a number and my family ordered the little East Bay Nike jerseys. And they wore them to the games even though it was the wrong number. It was hilarious. But yeah, I'd give JJ 4. I mean, I think that what most of the equipment guys do is they try to match what they have in high school if it works, if it fits. Obviously, if they've got a number that's open and vacant, they can do that. But there's always older guys that want to change their numbers, especially guys that are going to be second-year sophomores because they're going to want them to be in that maybe their high school number opens up or somebody leaves. Like when Paris Johnson left and he left 77 behind, Tigra switched to 77 immediately just because it's a more favorable, nicer-looking number. Your thoughts on that? I know you're dying to talk about what number JJ is going to wear.
Oh, I can't get over Barton 69. Barton 69. The jokes write themselves right there. Oh my god.
Oh my god. It was amazing. My family ordered those jerseys. They still have them too, and it's just so they would wear them to the games, and they'd be like, "Why do you got a 69 jersey on?" I was like, I might as well just be that guy, just be like a total dirt bag and wear that number because why not? It's just befitting. So in my 2 All-Star games in the Big 33 in the North South, that's what I wore, and it was the funniest thing ever. What you want to talk about Dominic McKinley? Because there are some Christmas gifts that are so out there from a recruiting perspective. This guy would be getting this is if we got Dominic McKinley, if you're talking Christmas, it'd be getting the new PlayStation or a new Maserati or a new Benz or whatever you want. That's the big gift that you want. That's what this kid would be. Dominic McKinley, D tackle, did not sign. So we'll bust out some of his film and watch him. But this guy is a monster, 6'7", 290, Texas kid. Nevada, what do you think of Dominic McKinley?
Well, look, I almost feel guilty talking about more kids after we landed Edrick Houston
Yeah.
J.J. Smith and Mylan Graham and I feel like Augustus Gloop asking for more stuff or something like that from the Schnitzel bar or something. But yeah, he would be amazing, and he's out there. You know, he was a Texas A&M commit, didn't sign, going to be out there, and Ohio State's pursuing him. And we know when Ohio State pursues, like, look, you can't ever rule Ohio State out of these things. We just landed the best class in the country, one of the best classes in Ohio State history yesterday. So how can we say we don't have a shot, man? We've got a shot, as good a shot as anybody, and why not? Would be an unbelievable get. Would be an unbelievable cherry on top of the Sunday. So dream big.
Yeah, this is the kind of guy you dream about. Like if you want to D tackle, because he's 6'7", so he's got the arm length. I mean, and he's playing. This is big time football. This is Acadia, Louisiana, and like that's not a place where we usually go down and have any success at all. But this he's a monster, man, and he's again committed to A&M. Did not sign. I imagine NIL will be a factor with this kid, but like if the kid wants to play early, like look at our depth chart, dude. There's not much you'd have to beat out if you wanted to get out there and get rolling. So again, I love this kid's tape. I think it's a long shot, obviously, but they're recruiting him. I mean, he didn't sign, and as much as people bag on LJ, like if these guys want to get developed, I mean, if I'm LJ, I just show like these are the contracts for the kids that have gotten written in the last 20 years by me. Draymond Jones is signed for $68 million or whatever, and like all these guys that he tutors. Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, and and those guys not only like does he tutor those guys, but those guys like love him. So I mean they're students of the game. Tom Bahali, these guys come back and they work with the pass rushers, and it's just different. So I love this kid's film. Again, this would be this kid's he's a 5-star. He's a 5-star D tackle, and frankly, there's just not many kids that are like this in the North. These are the guys that you find in Louisiana. Like you guys wonder why LSU is good and Georgia's good, like. Because these are the kind of guys that live in Georgia and Louisiana. This guy's a Louisiana kid. So, when LSU's cooking, this kid ain't leaving LSU. But yeah, you watch him and it's just like, again, like there's always a few guys that fall through the cracks to go to the second signing day. And I think that, teams can recalibrate their NIL budget. They can potentially raise more money. If we win, that's kind of an underrated thing. Like we won the Cotton Bowl and there's a lot of good momentum towards the program. I think it makes it much easier to ask for NIL money. As a collective and as a university, when the guys come back and they're trying to gear up for everything and you're trying to take care of the guys, because here's the thing: when the guys come back, they all want a little package, a little NIL deal. So Mecca and Jack Sawyer and JT and those guys. So and that's something that we should provide, a little financial security. So I think it's a good deal. Sean Rawlings, thank you for the 5. I appreciate you, my man. I appreciate the show. Thank you so much. Scoop Ultra member as well. We're going to get Scoop Ultra chat in likely between Christmas and New Year's. We're going to pick a day. It'll be a blast. Thank you, Kirk in Nevada. I'm off work the first damn roll tide. First roll damn tide. I love that. I'm off work the first damn roll tide. I am excited for the watch party. Nevada, your thoughts on the watch party? Because I think it's going to be absolutely amazing.
Well, he is off party. He's off work on the first roll damn tide. So that was the thing. It's the watch party it's gonna be a grand experiment for us. You got to understand, guys. We've never done this before. We have no idea even how this is going to work.
Yeah.
So because you can't show the game on your camera in terms of this, so all you're going to be getting is our reactions as we're going. But we're going to be there. It's like we're going to be in your living room. So it's like you're going to have Kirk Barton wearing his Barton 69 jersey sitting there, and Nevada Buck probably lit up by that time just watching the game. And and we'll all be screaming "Roll Damn Tide" the whole time. Every time they score, we all scream together "Roll Damn Tide," and we just laugh at Michigan every time that they just get manhandled by this SEC behemoth. So going to be great. Make sure no working on the first. Watch party, 3.5 hours of hilarity, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I think it's going to be amazing. It'll be probably the best thing we've ever done in our entire lives. Oh my God, this name. Casey Anthony got away with it. Oh my God, this is amazing. Thanks for the 5, Casey Anthony. You did get away with it. As a longtime ACC fan here, we can't wait for Florida State to leave. They are the Shooter McGavin of college football. Is that the guy from Happy Gilmore? It is, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Does that mean he's like a guy that's like kind of a douchebag or something? Like, is that because Shooter McGavin's the guy that Happy Gilmore had to like beat to win the tournament and stuff, right?
Yeah, I was rooting for Shooter McGavin in that thing. I think he
You
actually
would.
like. I would. I was rooting for Shooter McGavin. It's like I didn't quite understand the whole thing. Like he was going to get the thing, and then he was going to get the house, and then they had a bet, and he didn't get the house, but Grandma got the house, and like, come on. I like I said, I'm a big Shooter McGavin fan. I think he just got arrested for DUI recently. The real guy that played
Did
Shooter
he?
McGavin, and yeah, the mug shot was something super awesome too. It's like, man,
Really?
Uber guy. Yeah, you should Uber. Get in a cab. What bad thing can happen to you? Once you get into a cab, nothing bad can. Oh, well, I guess some things bad could happen if you decide to get inside a cab. But get inside the cab and don't shut the door on the cop's arm, because that's when the bad things start to happen.
What are you
But
bring
I
that up
digress.
for? Oh my
I
god!
I
I was
digress.
trying to do. You told me. He said, "Don't drive home. You're drunk." Okay, get in a cab. Like, Jesus. You come off the top rope on me. That was a long time
You should have
ago.
worn. You should have been wearing your '69 jersey.
That would have been amazing. If the taser would have been like the taser got caught on the '69 jersey, that would have been fantastic.
Barton
Oh,
69.
as I'm getting tasered, what a dirtbag. That'd be amazing. The he said, once you get in the cab, nothing bad can happen. Well, that's what I was told. So, like, I wake up in Delaware County Jail, and it was like a lot of bad stuff.
I'm home free, man. I'm home free.
Yeah, I was like, I had a great day. I got a lot of good business done. I got the biggest steal of my career written, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, and we're gonna tase you now because I put my arm in the door. And I'm like, I was like, why is your arm in the door? I just tried to shut a door and you put your arm in it. It's like, no. It's like, oh my God. Like, thank God that all got expunged and it all got dropped. So praise God and praise Sam Szymanski, my boy. VP of Hype, thanks for the 10. Kirk, can you share any stories on just how fast Ted Ginn was? Carrie Croft show. I love Carrie. She's the best. Teddy was a different monster, man. He was a speed demon out on the edge, a guy that it was fun because we don't really run reverses anymore, but we ran reverses with him, man, and he was awesome at it. And I killed a guy from Oklahoma State, blindside block. I'd have been thrown out for targeting, probably thrown in prison again. But Teddy, he's a guy you couldn't mess with. But the funny thing is that, and this will sound like sacrilege, but from maybe the like 1 to 10, there were some times where Gonzo would actually test quicker. But that 40, the thing where Teddy really had the jets was like 40 to 60. So that's why Ted's 40 wasn't like a 4.20. It was like it was a 4.3 ish, high 4.3 ish, 4.4. Because Ted, where the afterburners really came on, was from 40 to 60. So like when you watch him against like Notre Dame, he catches those long bombs. You watch him run a reverse against Notre Dame, and like 40 to 60 is where he really turned up. If they had a 60-yard dash at the combine, that's where Ted's like real explosion came in, because he was a hurdler and he just had jets, man. And when he got in the open field, it was like might as well just walk to the bench and go take a seat because no one's going to catch that cat. But I love little Ted. As explosive as the guys we've ever seen. He was a slight guy. He wasn't like Galloway. Galloway was a 400-pound bencher. But he's got to be in the conversation for top 3 or 4 or 5 fastest guys in school history. It's got to be him, Galloway. I had people, in that 18 Michigan game, Urban's last game at the shoe, they had a guy say Paris Campbell was faster than Ted. I was like, no, he wasn't. And Paris is fast. Paris is real fast. He's not faster than Ted, though. To me, it'd be Ted, Galloway, and I'm not sure who else I'd throw in there. Who else would you throw in there, Nevada? Put that in your comments.
Maybe Terry Glenn. Terry Glenn could run.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sound crazy saying this, but my big boy Terrell Pryor could run too, man.
No, that's not crazy at all.
Yeah,
that's not crazy at all.
That guy could pick him up and put him down, man. I'm telling you what.
Yeah.
But how crazy is it though that Ted Ginn goes and he gets drafted and like when he's drafted, I'm thinking, he's a specialty act. He's a punt returner, kick returner type of guy. And then how many years did he play in the NFL as a wide receiver? He stopped returning kicks.
Like 14?
Like just something ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're 10 plus you're 12, 14 years in the NFL as a wide receiver. What a stud. What a stud. I remember watching the game that were like, and we all knew that he was special, just watch him as a fan. But that Michigan State game, you guys won like 19-17 or what it was.
Yeah,
it took
in 04. Yeah.
Yeah, like the reverse back for the touchdown, and he caught that slant and just kind of beat. That was the one when you just saw like just the raw, just blinding speed, on display. And that was I remember as a fan watching that and just thinking, man, you knew immediately you were watching something really, really special that day.
Yeah, I mean, he played 14 years in the league, and that's like, the thing I tell people is like, obviously he broke his leg the first play of the Florida game. I'm like, he's our best player. I mean, he played longer in the league than anybody in that game, and he played like 3 plays in the game. Like he broke his leg, tried to come back for a couple games, and then that was kind of it. And it was just, like when you lose your best player, like if you took the best player off of every single team in the playoffs, then all of a sudden there's gonna be some big old holes to fill. Like if you take Quinn Ewers off Texas, you take, Penix off of Washington, you take, the quarterback off Bama, you take JJ McCarthy and put the backup in for Michigan. Like it hurts. Troy was great, but he wasn't our best player. I mean, Ted was the 7th pick in the draft. So just by definition, it is what it is. VP of Hype, thanks for the 5. I heard Terry Glenn beat Galloway in a race. Is this true? I don't know. I've never heard that. I wouldn't doubt it. But I mean, that was early 90s. I mean, I was still living in Florida back then. But that wouldn't surprise me at all, just because I thought he was a monster. And we've got Jaden Ballard on this team can fly, but he just never plays. Like he's just he like runs out of the tunnel and goes and stands there for most of the game and fair catches punts. But Jaden's a guy that can really run, and that's not just according to me. It's according to the guys, Emeka, Marvin, Jackson Smith and Jigbo. They all say who's the fastest guy on the team. They say Jaden Ballard, which is why it's weird that he hasn't had a bigger role. I can surmise why, just because I kind of know the inner workings of the Woody Hayes, but it just kind of is what it is. It just proves that it takes more than just speed to play and be effective at Ohio State, because the guys that we have playing, those guys can all run too. Like you're not going to play wide receiver at Ohio State if you can't run. What else, Nevada? I mean, we want to talk about? Not a lot of portal stuff. McKinley, Dominic Kirk.
We're gonna watch some Edrick Houston. I know we have a new video up on Edrick Houston. I don't know if you haven't watched the latest Edrick Houston highlight video, do yourself a favor. I mean, it's not very long. Watch this thing. This kid is really, really special.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's literally awesome. So we'll toss some film up right now. So there we go. There's some Edrick Houston playing right now. Yeah, this kid's a different cat, man. And this is a guy that, get excited, guys, because he's gonna be playing a lot next year. This is not a kid that's gonna be watching. He's gonna be, JT and Jack comes back. This might be the first end off the bench ahead of Caden Curry and ahead of Kenyatta Jackson, because I think he's better than both those guys. But he's a big, athletic, freaky. Look at the effort. Like this is a play that people will watch this. They'll watch like the first 3 seconds, and he gets double teamed in the slide protection right here. He's got the double to his side, so he's not going to get to the quarterback. But I just love the turn and then the effort, and that is something that I just don't think people realize. Like the pursuit, like a lot of guys don't do that. They'll sit there, they'll take the double team, but when guys play with that kind of effort, I think they have a chance to be really special, especially against the run. And that's what great defenses are built on effort. You got to have guys that want to run down guys and make plays and support in the running game and get to the ball. And that's the mentality. And again, I think, with Kerry Combs, we kind of lost our way. We had a lot of guys that were too cool for school. And frankly, when they were gone, I was happy just because when you watch guys that don't give effort on defense, it makes you if you really know football, it makes you kind of physically ill, especially when it's a program you care about. And again, it's kind of an epidemic right now in football where there's a lot of guys that are just too cool for school. Like you guys that are Steelers fans watch George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, not block, not touch the guy. And it just kind of makes you sick. You want to see these guys. And here he is setting the edge at tight end. This is great. So, this is a kid he's selfless enough to play both ways. So this dude comes off the rock here and just kills this guy. It's like this pancake, 4 yards back. The guy might get tripped, but still, I mean, he's got a willingness to be nasty. He's not just a guy that wants to rush the passer on 3rd down and not be physical. This is a guy that he's finding the ball, he's pursuing, he's blocking as a tight end. So he's a great teammate, because this kid's playing both ways. He's not, I'm too tired. Oh, I can't do it. Here's another one, Smash Brothers. Look at this. double teams this guy into orbit right here, and it gets his hands on him. I mean, look at that. Yeah, I mean, it pushes the guy back 7 yards. So I mean, the guy shucks him at the end, but that's a 6 yard run right at the point of attack. So again, this is a special kid. This is the best defensive player in the country in my mind. And on the other side, we get JJ, who's the best offensive player in the country. So again, getting this kid was the absolute cherry on top. I think he's got first round upside in 3 years. And I'm just really excited to watch this kid develop under Larry Johnson. And again, people can say, Larry Johnson's going to retire. He's going to retire. He's going to retire. I'm like, dude, he's making $1 million a year, and he just landed a 5-star, and he can get guys in the portal, and he's got a great job, and he's at a good place, and he's at the top school in the Big Ten. So his life is pretty good right now. Like, I don't know if, I mean, I think everyone's like, oh, well, don't you want to go retire and play shuffleboard? I'm like, dude, these guys are coaches. Like, once guys get into the coaching, man, it's like heroin. You can't just quit it, especially when you're getting paid. It's not like he's at Akron or Kent State or Indiana and you're losing 44-0 every week. Like, you're at Ohio State and you're probably going to win 11 games every year at a minimum, and you just keep cranking. So, and especially if JT and Jack are coming back, I mean, good God, like, what else do you want? He's got a loaded room, a good defense. They're going to be in year 3 of the Jim Knowles defense, and I think they're going to be really good next year. But your thoughts on Edrick Houston, Nevada? Because I love watching this stuff.
Well, confession time. He was the guy I wanted more than JJ Smith. No, I mean, honest. Like, I wanted him more than JJ. JJ Smith, like, I know he's Julio Jones. I know he's unbelievable. I know he'll be number one. I know he's going to be but we have lots of great wide receivers. It's like Edrick Houston was just a guy I wanted more. And so, like, when we got him, it was I was excited about JJ, but I was really excited about Edrick, because getting a guy like that out of Georgia to come to Ohio State, like I said, what a great job by the staff. What a great finish, and perfect kid for the Buckeyes. Like I said, selfless kid, not an NIL kid, effort kid, great teammate, will do it all. Got a motor that doesn't stop, and perfect for the OSU defense. And yeah, the OSU defense is going to be nasty. I mean, it's second in the country this year, and I think it's going to be better next year. So only one more spot to get to, and I think they'll get it next year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Super chat, Rich is where. Thank you for the 10. This is a great question. How does Michigan sign 28 recruits? That is like 1/3 of their scholarships, with all of their 5th and 6th year guys and not many leaving through the portal. How are they not over their 85? Great job, guys. I haven't really looked into that. I would imagine they've got a pretty senior laden roster. And they've had guys transfer out. Usually, like, with the roster management, they figure out how to, get to that 85 by August. Like, sometimes you're a little heavy in the spring and summer, but I think I've really looked at that. I think that they do have a lot of older guys. I think Michigan's going to be way down next year. They got a lot of guys that are older on that O line. They're going to be moving on. I think that their tight end's going to move on. They've got some really good players that are going to move on. So, when you see these big classes, usually it's because of attrition via early entry to the draft, guys that are 5th and 6th year guys, and then guys that are leaving through the portal. So I didn't notice that. Again, I didn't realize their class was that big. But with the portal, you got to kind of manage the scholarships a little differently than you did before, because you don't just take 25 guys in the recruiting class now, because now you might take 18, 19, 20, and then take 5, 6 transfer portal guys. And again, you got to remember the portal, it opens again after spring bowl. So Ohio State will probably lose a couple more guys after spring football. It always happens, and we'll probably gain a couple more guys after spring football. So your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, look, I've heard people speculate that Michigan could have as many as 20 guys drafted this year. Now, I don't see that, but it generally, they don't have a lot of high end, but they're going to have a lot of guys that are been going to the NFL draft. I mean, if it's not 20, maybe it's 15 or 16, which is still an unbelievable number. So, I mean, they've got spots, but man, go up and down that class of 28 guys. There's literally nobody I want. Nobody. It's a very, very weak class, and it's what I would expect Michigan to be. I mean, but that's how Michigan's been recruiting. Michigan hasn't been recruiting this, unbelievable talent. They've done a really good job of developing it, and I think they've done a good job of coaching it up and game planning it, around the guys that they have. I tip my hat to them, and look, and they were cheating for 2 years. Other
Yeah.
than that, that's how they righted the ship. But no, they're a very senior laden, upperclassmen laden class, and it'll be reflected in the NFL draft. They're gonna have a lot of guys go.
Yeah, and again, that happens. Like, and sometimes when your roster gets real top heavy like that, a lot of it's because they just haven't had the high end talent that we've had that has left early. Like, you look at, I mean, the amount of attrition Ohio State's had in the last 5 years of guys that have gone pro after 3 or 4 years is completely insane. Yeah, because everyone like, oh, the O line's gonna suck. Our O line was fine this year, but we lost Paris, DeWand, and Luke Whippler as third and fourth year guys. DeWand was a fourth year guy, fourth year junior. The other two guys were third year guys. I mean, Luke Whippler was a third year sophomore and went pro. Paris Johnson was a third year junior and went pro. And that is exceptionally rare for O linemen to leave like that, but they all got drafted. DeWand, I mean, was a guy that I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowler, but I mean, he could easily make the Pro Bowl in the future. I mean, he's a guy that you look at what some of the big tackles like Orlando Brown Jr. and Trent, not Trent Williams, but Trent Brown, who plays for the Patriots. Like those guys that are 6'8", 380, like DeWand is. Those guys make a lot of money if they can move their feet. And DeWand's going to make a fortune in the league. And Paris is, he's coming along. Paris a year younger. Paris wasn't as good as DeWand in the NFL this year. Paris is good, but DeWand was fantastic. So, and Luke was dressed and active for all these games for the Browns. And again, it's a testament to the development. It's a testament to Greg Sudwar's recruiting. Again, everyone wanted to bag on set. I'm like, dude, like, I don't know where you guys have been, but we got Thayer Mudford in the league. We got Nick Petit-Frere in the league. They're both starting in the league. Nick Petit's on IR, but Thayer started a bunch of games this year for the Raiders, and that's high-end stuff, and Matt Jones is probably going to get a sniff. I don't know if he'll get drafted, but he could be a late-round draft pick potentially. Donnie needs to come back for another year and play better. But yeah, we've got a lot of guys that are really good players that I think, it's hurt our teams due to the fact that we've had so many guys develop and leave early because they were good enough to do it. Again, it's kind of a double-edged sword because you want these 3-and-out guys like J.J. Smith and Carnell Tate and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Emeka and all these kids, but you don't get to have that stacked team where you've got a bunch of seniors. Like Michigan they had a very old roster because they didn't really have guys that were good enough to leave. So I don't know. Like it's cool, but you sometimes sit around and wonder what would the team have looked like if we would have gotten another year out of CJ Stroud and he had been a fourth year junior, or Paris or DeWand, even if just one of the linemen, even if just Luke Whippler came back, like what did we look like, in the middle? But again, that's just part of big time ball. Like when you bring in kids and you develop them at a high level and they go pro and they're successful in the NFL, because it's not like any of those guys were out there vomiting all over themselves playing in the NFL. Those guys were productive, fantastic players. I mean, CJ Stroud's a Heisman, or not Heisman, excuse me, an MVP contender as a 22-year-old in the National Football League. That's insane. And he went to, by definition, the second worst team in the NFL last year. So, I mean, it's kind of is what it is at this point. But yeah, I don't think we're going to have a big 28-person class in Ohio State's future, maybe ever again, especially with the transfer portal. Nevada, I think we can about wrap this up. Did we get all the super chats? Got all the super chats. But yeah, this Edrick Houston tape is something else to watch. It's really fun to watch. Final thoughts. Florida State to the Big Ten. Edrick Houston, Dominic McKinley, the roster, the Cotton Bowl's coming in. God, it's like a week, or it's almost a week away. I mean, it's the 29th and or whatever it is. And yeah, I mean, we're almost there. I mean, the team's literally going there on Friday. So it's, they're going to be in Dallas like for Christmas, and that sucks, but hey, you got to go do it for big time ball. But your thoughts?
Yeah, just how my final thoughts is just how lucky we are to be Ohio State fans to have not gone through any of the troubles of every other big school. We've gone over this many times, but Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, USC, Washington, Oklahoma, just Nebraska, pick a school.
Florida State,
Florida State. I mean,
Clemson,
that have gone and come back and gone back again and come back. I mean, all the time we've just continued on this upward trajectory. And what happened yesterday? Well, we signed, in my opinion, the number one class in the country. And I'm telling you, a lot of our guys are coming back for next year for one more run. So it's great to be a Buckeye fan. Count your blessings, because it's not always going to be like this, but it's been a great ride, and the ride continues.
Yeah, and you can inject some of those early entry guys into the recruiting class. So it's like if you had Emeka Egbuka and Trey Henderson and Jack Sawyer, those are like 7-star recruits. When you get a third-year guy who's contemplating going to the league to come back for a fourth year, so that definitely, you look at that because like you look at like Georgia, who presumptively has the number one class, but they just lost their middle linebacker to Kentucky. Jameson Dumas or whatever his name was. Like, I mean, that was a guy that was a preseason All-American, and he just left. So there's a lot of teams on shaky ground right now with the NIL stuff and with kids wanting money and trying to shake down Kirby Smart. And I don't know. Like, I mean, I think we got a lot more momentum than a lot of these programs do because I think we've got a good culture. I think there's a lot of good stuff going on. So, well, we'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys kicking it with us. We'll be back again tomorrow. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Those are all huge for us. Help us grow this channel. Again, you guys are the best. Thank you to all of our regulars that are in here every night. I'll go again at 7 tomorrow. It'll be a great show. Kind of keep cleaning up all this Florida State expansion stuff. It is craziness right now, but Big Ten's about to be awesome. So I'm really excited about that. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, thank you guys so much for the super chats. Those are going straight to our Pay It Forward Fund. That'll help our veterans out. So thank you guys. As always, we appreciate all of your support on this channel. And again, we try to bring the heat for you guys every night. We love kicking it with you guys. It's the best part of our entire day. That being said, as always, thank you, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. I know some of you guys are probably going to be traveling over the weekend. You guys be safe. Have fun. Enjoy your family. And get ready for some Ohio State football because I think we're going to be really good in the Cotton Bowl and then we're going to be really good next year. So, again, if you guys need a last-minute gift, BuckeyeScoop.com, a membership to it is an absolutely fantastic gift. And we've gotten a ton of new members from this podcast that have joined it. And it's like kind of an exclusive community, man. We have a lot of fun on there. I'm about to jump on it right now. So hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.